susceptible. The bribe, at depression exchange rates, might cost you several dollars. Imagine, a lousy couple of bucks to invade a country. By the time of this story, midway through the 20th century, the price had gone up slightly, but the Great Wall wasn't truly an obstacle to enemies, merely an interruption. Yet it remains standing, seemingly untouched, like China itself. You beat on it and beat on it for 100 years, and in the end, it is still there, and you are gone, exhausted or dead, your pick and maul and sledgehammer broken. Europeans and Asians, Turk and Hun, and occasionally the Americans, we all took our shot, and when we had finished, the wall was still there, contemptuous of our efforts. China was still China. As the individual Chinese in the street mutters, even today under his breath as we pass, "Foreign devils." Hundreds of miles south and east of the ancient wall, it was in the city of those foreign devils, the great international port of Shanghai, that late in 1941 the adventure began. Shanghai, arrogantly self-absorbed, unshaken, bustling, and disdainful, was riding out the war with Japan in fair shape. Then, on a November evening, the White Russian General Rostov, out of sorts, depressed by something or other, shot himself to death over cocktails at the bar of the Imperial Club. This small but shocking act of violence in the midst of a major war was shrugged off by most Chinese. What did one fewer foreign devil matter? But it made the front pages and certainly got the international community's attention. Was even blasé Shanghai succumbing to war nerves, these persistent rumors of a wider war? Was there a dimension to Rostov's death that went beyond one man's tragedy? Or was the foreign quarter reading too much into just another neurotic émigré suicide? Rostov was an aristocrat who had fought gallantly under the Tsar against the Germans, the Austrians, and briefly the Turks before commanding a cavalry division against Stalin during the Civil War of 1920. His death was especially shattering for the small, influential foreign set in Shanghai, the diplomats and soldiers and wealthy men who circulated about the hub of the Imperial Club. It was upsetting to have a decent fellow like Rostov shooting himself anywhere, but to do so in an establishment so admired for its elegance and class. Symbolically, at least, the suicide signaled a bleak watershed for the city's better sort. Until then, people said, wartime Shanghai, especially the international settlement and the French concession, both dating back to the Boxer Rebellion, had been enjoying a splendid season, despite the war. In the vast interior of the country, far from the sea and the big port cities like Shanghai, the war threatened to go on forever, the Japanese winning most of the set-piece battles, but the Chinese giving ground grudgingly, and with their inexhaustible manpower, chewing up Japanese troops by the score in every skirmish, sometimes by the hundreds, even thousands. A contemporary war correspondent with a poetic streak and a tolerant rewrite desk compared the combat to full-grown tigers fighting. The bloody metaphor apt. The Sino-Japanese War began July 7, 1937, with a night exercise during which Japanese troops fired blank cartridges into the air to simulate combat conditions. Startled Chinese troops, believing they were under attack, replied with artillery fire. The misunderstanding occurred at the Marco Polo Bridge outside Peking, a vista so famed for its beauty, we are told by China historian Jonathan D. Spence that the Emperor Qianlong wrote a poem on the loveliness of the setting moon when viewed there in the first light of dawn. The skirmish at the Marco Polo Bridge was nothing, but not the rhetoric that followed. In Tokyo, Prince Konoye mobilized 5 divisions and demanded a Chinese apology. Chiang Kai-shek, always to be counted on for xenophobic histrionics, declared, "If we allow one more inch of our territory to be lost, we shall be guilty of an unpardonable crime against our race." Both irate statesmen would soon get their war, even though Tokyo would, for its own reasons and with considerable understatement, continue to refer to it as the China Incident. By the autumn of 1941, 2 great and cultivated Asian nations had been